I had wanted to talk about names and attributes of God. I wanted to finish that video, but lately, with everything going on in the world and everyone with their finger on the button and boats running into bridges and all that stuff, just like in the movies, I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm not doing a Jeff Tubin or anything off screen, but with boats running into bridges. Okay. Sorry, fam. The devil does not want this video to be made. And it's been a struggle, I can tell you. It's been a straight up struggle. And again, I had wanted to finish the video on the names and attributes of God. And so many of you have said that you're struggling with mental issues, anxiety, sleeplessness, and all of that. And I prayed before I went to make this video that God will give me the right things to say. But God is God above everything. God is God above everything. I know myself, I've been going through hideous, horrible trials of more or less chronic pain now that stays at about an 8 out of 10. And thank God for Matt Lyons sending me the TENS unit has helped me to cut down on the painkillers dramatically. And I've stayed in prayer. See, fam, the devil is a real being, and he's smart. He has intelligence. He watches us. He and his minions. He's not omnipresent like God, but he has his minions, and they watch us. It says in the word that we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, meaning there's a spiritual dimension all around us that takes place at the same time as we're living in this dimension. That's actually what those scientists at CERN are trying to break through to, are the other, 6 dimensions that they say that we have around us. So that being said, there's so much pressure on everybody's mind. You watch the news and the government's just totally out of control. They're not taking care of what they should take care of. There are people flooding into the country that mean us no good. A lot of them are good people that are looking for, a better way of life. But by the same token, that's more competition for the little bit of resources that are left. It's more competition. And it just means that the labor pool and everything is going to get so hot that people are going to have to work, extra hours to keep a job, and they're going to have to really be on their toes to get and keep a job. AI is going to be replacing like 40% of jobs in the years to come, and well-meaning politicians raising the minimum wage, meaning well, just means that the burger joints are going to have to automate more and hire less people to get the job done. I had 2 McFish fillet sandwiches and a chocolate shake last month, $17. And one of the fish fillet sandwiches had a fish eyeball in it. And I felt this thing in my mouth, felt like a button or something. And I spit it out into my hand, and it was this fish eyeball looking at me, you know. So that's the last time for me and the McFish sandwiches, which I used to adore. I would never eat another one without cutting it in half. And with all of the hacks that are going on with food and water and this, that, and the other, you really, before you want to eat anything, you want to give it a good sniff and a good looking at. You know, I got a couple of Whoppers last month. Man, Raj went and got me a couple Whoppers. I got Whoppers with wilted tomato, wilted lettuce on it. It was like you just picked it up out of the garbage and put it on my burgers. I got tacos from you know who, and it was a box of. They literally had a crumpled up piece of paper in part of the box. $10, you got a crumpled up piece of paper, some little cinnamon, you know, like those Chinese noodle things covered with cinnamon, a taco with literally nothing smeared on it, and a burrito just as limp with barely anything on the burrito, $10. You know, I would never get anything from there again. Plus, you know, with cattle being culled and chickens being culled, they're talking about replacing beef with ground up cricket meal. And crickets have chitin. Birds can digest chitin, but human beings cannot digest chitin. It causes a shellfish reaction. I ate some cricket chips recently where they had added the cricket meal to some chips that I got. I opened up the bag of chips and it smelled just like those grub worms that you feed your pets at the pet store. It has that real anally smell, is the only way I can put it. And that's the way these chips smelled. And they tasted like grub worm chips. And man, I got streaks up and down my arms and breakout around my neck and everything, you know, because Pop paid his money. I was like going to eat those chips. But, and this is stuff that you've been buying for years now. You have to take a magnifying glass and check the ingredients. And they don't use the word cricket. They use the genus and species name and the ingredients to go over your head. So it's like you got to be a lab analyst now to make sure that your food is safe enough to eat, or if it's still safe enough to eat. But all that stuff is coming your way, fam, you know? And for those of us that are saved, that know the Lord Jesus Christ, we know that he's not going to let it get that bad before he takes us out of here. And fam, this election coming up is not going to make any difference. You know, Bibles for America and all that, that's nice. That's a nice sentiment. But when you have 1/3 of America, you know, wants to go one way, and then 2/3 of America and growing with all of these people that they are flooding into the country because they want to change the dynamic of the country, you know. And with all of the equity and media stuff that they forced on us a couple of years ago, where the other day I was watching this beautiful gospel show, and then the commercial was for that movie Monster with two vampire guys kissing each other and a little 9-year-old girl being drained of her life so she could be a vampire. Total perversion, total, abomination. And they linked that with a gospel hour show. And then I had to wait for 14 seconds or whatever to skip that. All of that is very much on purpose. It's all indoctrination, And all of these people, Nancy P. and Slow J, they say they're good Catholic. We're good. Every time they get on the podium, they invoke God, and they say that they're good Catholics. And Milquetoast Mike, the backstabber, Milquetoast Mike says, God's in his corner, and all these people are into the abomination and relabeled Resurrection Day as tranny, granny, fanny, visibility day. And, they show these videos, grown men, 55-year-old men in thongs or jock straps or whatever, waving their hairy butts around, bumping hairy butts into each other with a little boy looking on, and the child knows something's wrong about all this. And you got this guy who's veterinarian ophthalmologist, married to another guy, and they are having a child by surrogate, So right there, the whole thing about men being able to have babies, never happened, never will happen. That's a woman who's taking hormones, who's got a beard and a baby in her belly. It's a woman taking hormones. It's not a guy. I'm sorry to you. That's not reality. But this guy flat out admitted that he was going to use his surrogate child as a SEXTOY. And he got himself arrested, for bragging about that or mentioning it. And they searched his computer, and it had a whole bunch of kitty PORN on the laptop. And these people are without shame. They're like, well, they're just young, attracted. Back in my day, nobody would ever come out in public and say that they're young, attracted, or that they're an atheist, or they're a communist, socialist, rather, which is just putting lipstick on the pig of communism. And you have countries like Venezuela, used to be rich countries, and now you literally got people chasing the garbage truck to reach in and grab some garbage out of the back of the truck and eat it, eating dogs and cats and all this other stuff. One guy eating another person's foot. You don't think Jesus is coming very soon to judge all of this? It can't go much further. God has never allowed a civilization, once it teaches its children perversion and abomination, that never goes beyond one generation. of those children having been taught abomination and perversion, and God cuts it off. And now we have this eclipse. We have this eclipse going over America, and it's going over 7 cities that are named Nineveh. And of course, most people don't even know the reality of that Nineveh was judged by God, and God said that if Nineveh didn't repent, it would be wiped out in 40 days, you know. So some people are expecting Orange Man Bad to, you know, revitalize America, and we'll choke along for a little while longer. But there are a great many pastors and theologians that are saying that, you know, once all of the circumstances are right, you know, there's no reason to have another waiting period. I mean, we have AI that's hostile towards humans. We have that critical race theory being taught in school, which is just reverse racism, you know, that now white people are called out as automatically being racist and evil, you know. And if you buy into that, fam, if you buy into that, you are not going to go to heaven. The word of God says that heaven is made up of all tribes and tongues and people. So if you're harboring racism, forget it. If you're harboring, you know, goodwill towards the abomination and the other abomination, which is a tragedy, and I don't judge anybody. I don't judge anybody who fell for the lie when your fiance said, "I'm your man, baby, and why do we have to do it with protection? After all, I'm your man." And then the girl gets pregnant and her man says, "You need to go and handle your business." Now all of a sudden it's her business, and she's working a job with the baby in her belly while he's out and about in her car looking for another woman that he could get into trouble. I worked with a guy who made 32 babies up and down the East Coast. He made 32 babies and he abandoned every single one of them. But karma caught up with the guy. He worked on a garbage truck and he took a $50 bribe to get rid of these barrels of chemicals. And like an idiot, he packed them in the garbage truck. And of course, the barrels ruptured and sprayed all the chemicals into the exhaust system of the truck and sprayed it all over he in the cab of the truck. And it all burst into flames and cooked the guy like a potato chip, you know. So karma caught up with that guy, because I remember him laughing and joking about all the women that he had spoiled. Told him he loved them and then got them pregnant, and then, you know, told them they got to go handle their business. They go to the clinic to get their baby made in the image of God, that God gave us the wherewithal to create another life. And what do? We scrape it out like seeds out of a pumpkin and put it down the drain and turn on the garbage disposal, or they sell the parts, which is abomination. The girl asked for understanding from her family, and the mother said, "Girl, don't bring that baby here. I done raised my family. I'm not raising another." And then you got these knuckleheads at the clinic, and the girl's walking in there. She knows what's going on. And these knuckleheads are waving signs, you know, with these pictures and telling the girl on top of every other heartache she suffered, that she's going to go to hell on top of it. Instead of saying, Miss, can we get you some gas? Can we get you a place to stay? Can we get you some financing? You know, can we help you? Hey, what's up? You know, so it's a tragedy, and it's genocide, because 80% of aborted babies are African American or mixed race. And see, fam, I took Latin in school, and fetus is Latin for little one. There's nobody being kidded about what's going on at those clinics, you know. It's a tragedy. It shouldn't be celebrated. And then when the girl's pregnant, the cells in her breasts are reconfiguring in order to make breast milk. And when that baby is taken away, those cells all of a sudden, they don't know what to do because they're not finishing the job. And that puts the girl at a much higher rate and risk of cancer. And then she ends up having to have her breasts lopped off. And they're doing that to little children, you know, performing mastectomies on little girls and, you know, chopping off the male parts on little boys. And they don't tell you that it takes several operations, and you have to put a plastic plug in the hole to keep the wound from growing together, you know, while the child is still trying. Child has to take a plastic plug out to go wee-wee and then put the plastic plug back in to keep the hole from closing up, you know, and requiring another very dangerous, painful operation. And it doesn't solve the mental problem. I mean, that one little boy that transitioned, you know, the mother doesn't allow him to talk about it. And she's very much pro all of this wokeism. And she doesn't allow the kid to express how they felt about it, you know, not knowing the full ramification. Putting all that on a little child to make that choice, and tricking and trapping a little child who's confused about gender and all of this, and selling it to a little child, you know, as two men holding hands, and not telling about all of the other stuff of using, you know, your mouth for a sewer to please another person. And fam, this is adult content. So if it's too close to the edge, by all means, you know, hop off and go watch SpongeBob or something like that. You know? So all of you who are struggling with mental issues, I don't blame you. Like I said, all of these countries have their finger on the button. You have the devil who is going about roaring like a lion, seeking whom he can destroy, because he knows his time is short. And these things whisper in your ear, and they try and make you think that their thoughts are your thoughts, you know? And if you argue, spiritual aspect can be one part of depression. Depression can be spiritual. It can be emotional, where somebody is depressing you or abusing you. It can be due to poverty. It can be due to a whole bunch of things, you know. But the fact of the matter is God made a perfect creation, and the devil has usurped man's position and authority for right now, and is causing all of these problems. And you even have television, they call it a television program, and the commercial comes on and it says, are you feeling shaky? Are you feeling this or that? And we have this pill you got to take. I got to go. UPS at the door. So